sorted?
Yes, I need that. Sorted. Sorry, confession time. My name is Carolyn Macintosh. I'm 42 years old, and I'm a procrastinator. I think being a procrastinator is really a very, very important thing. If you find yourself staring out of the window, then chances are you're one of us too. 20% of the population procrastinate. But what is procrastination? Basically, it's avoiding doing anything you should be doing by doing something totally different. Tim Urban, the creator of Wait But Why, gave an amazing TED Talk about inside the mind of a procrastinator. I won't be doing that this evening because really, you don't want to know what's going on inside my mind right now. Tim Urban talked of rational decision makers, instant gratification monkeys, and the panic monster, and how procrastinators have all of these inside their minds. I am, I think, lucky enough to have them all right in here. I can be a rational decision maker, and I can be effective. But on my right shoulder, right here, I have an instant gratification monkey that is bouncing uncontrollably, wanting gratification right now. And he frequently takes over from my rational decision maker, drawing me away from any goal I have until a deadline comes to the point where the heavy-footed panic monster comes charging in and scares him away. And he allows the rational decision maker to get on with the task in hand, but not without instilling a sense of dread, horror, fear in every sinew of my body. But oh, that adrenaline rush you get from the arrival of Panic Monster, you cannot beat it. But what happens if there is no specific deadline? What happens, and you still have to get something done? If there's no time that Panic Monster is scheduled to come bursting through the metaphorical door, going wild? What happens if there is no way to terminate that instant gratification monkey's needs and to limit my procrastination? Does that matter? Well, no, sure, of course it doesn't, because there's always tomorrow, right? We can start everything tomorrow. As I said previously, 20% of the population procrastinate. The greatest gift to us, the people who procrastinate, is the opportunity to accomplish things, surprisingly wonderful things, by not sticking to a strict schedule. Adam Grant, an organizational psychologist, has studied what he calls the originals. A group of people who are non-conformists, people who don't only have ideas, but they take action on those ideas, and then they champion them. People who speak up, stand out, and drive change. Often, these people are hugely successful in their fields of excellence. But why am I telling you this? Grant believes that original thinkers, have habits that separate them from the rest. The first habit he talks about is the one I find the most interesting. Procrastinating, of course. Procrastination can be a vice when you look at productivity, but it is also very obviously a virtue when looking at creativity. Leonardo da Vinci and Martin Luther King were both huge procrastinators, so I think I'm keeping some pretty good company. Da Vinci took 16 years to complete the Mona Lisa, and I'm sure he felt like a failure. However, during the various diversions he took through those years, it undoubtedly made him a better painter. His studies with the optics and with light, I'm sure, transformed the way he looked at his compositions. By leaving the writing of his monumental speech in August 1963 in Washington till the very last minute, Martin Luther King left himself open to the widest range of possible ideas and inspiration. He could improvise. Those 4 powerful words, "I have a dream," were not included in any of the drafts he wrote, nor was it included in the final 3 a.m. rewrite on the morning of the speech. Actually, it never appeared in anything he ever wrote down. Other famous procrastinators, let's see. Mozart. He wrote the overture to Don Giovanni in the early hours before it premiered, and the ink was barely dry the first time it was played. Frank Lloyd Wright, the most extraordinary architect, designed his most famous and groundbreaking house falling water in Pittsburgh in 1935 in less than 2 hours when he was pressured for some blueprints by the very wealthy client who had commissioned the project. He had in fact made the mistake 15 months earlier of telling them that the plans were practically complete. And finally, my very favourite procrastinator, Victor Hugo. Hugo's most famous work, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, was completed under a looming deadline that was only magnified by his own procrastination. But Hugo had a unique anti-procrastination technique. To complete the work against a brutal deadline he was facing, he just got naked. No, really, I mean it. Just get naked. He stripped down to his birthday suit, locked himself in a room to avoid the temptation of going out. And only once he'd completed his work were his servants allowed to bring him his clothes so he could return to ordinary life. So next time you're sitting up at 2 a.m. trying to finish that IA, perhaps attempt the Victor Hugo way of getting over procrastination. Get naked. Your roommate will hate you forever. I do believe procrastination is an art. Something I've now practiced for many, many years. Something I feel very accomplished at. In fact, writing this, well, I won't even tell Lawrence when I started writing this. Maybe yesterday? Something I feel accomplished, although it's advice that frustrates me, I also get a great source of pleasure from it. That hit I get from the instant gratification monkey. The adrenaline rush I get from the unscheduled entry of the panic monster. But mostly because of those diversions I'm sent on my journeys of procrastination. They can lead to some amazing discoveries and moments of absolute enlightenment and creativity. And that's what helps me with tasks, so they're no longer mundane and dull. So, to conclude, procrastination is a gift. Embrace it and see where it leads. Thank you. If you'd like to make your way through to building 13, thank you. If you'd like to make your